federal judge blocks new Texas law that protects one constitutional right. This law requires. Because of corrupt, Obama-appointed judges, many required reforms are being blocked all through our nation. These judges enable their liberal predisposition to harm what ought to be unprejudiced rulings. They make a joke of our country and discredit the will of the general population. One such judge overturned an important law in Texas and is helping genuine fraud happen. Via the Gateway Pundit. Obama-appointed Judge Nelva Gonzalez-Ramos struck down the Texas voter ID law on Wednesday that requires IDs to vote. Judge Ramos believes that it is racist to believe blacks and Hispanics are able to fill out paperwork and purchase ID cards. This is the second time Judge Nelva Gonzalez-Ramos blocked the Texas voter ID law. In October 2014, Judge Ramos voiced the Texas photo ID law just weeks before the November elections, calling it a poll tax. The law was then softened for the 2016 election. Earlier this year, the Trump Sessions DOJ asked a federal court to dismiss the earlier department's claim that ID law was enacted with the intention of discriminating against minority voters. Americans need ID cards to function successfully in society. But Democrats love their voter fraud. As expressed in a graphic beneath, you need an ID to purchase liquor, cigarettes, open a bank account, apply for government programs, rent a house or auto, get married, adopt a pet, and substantially more. However, these Democrats need us to trust that somebody interested in voting isn't doing every one of these things. You need an ID to do as such numerous things in this nation. Also, you don't need to have a driver's license. Cities will issue a legitimate, non-driver ID to anybody, so they can have substantial recognizable proof. Considering the gigantic evidence of voter fraud, it just bodes well that surveying stations require ID. However, Democrats block this, in light of the fact that for a considerable length of time they've controlled the system through voter fraud. They let individuals vote unlawfully, utilizing fake names or the names of dead people. It's widespread all through our society. One of only a couple of ways Democrats win decisions. This judge is clearly endeavoring to ensure illegals who live in Texas. Not exclusively does she need them here, taking jobs and debilitating our national security, she needs them voting in our races. Envision that, foreigners, criminals, choosing who should lead us. Everything I can state is, Texans, you better battle back. How do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. HT the Gateway Pundit. Mike Huckabee just stopped Antifa dead in its tracks. He calls for tearing down another offensive monument. The terrifying events in Charlottesville have revived the level-headed discussion over Confederate monuments. A few people are maintaining a strategic distance from the civil argument part altogether. All things considered, they've each chosen it as superbly fine to go out and tear them down without anything taking after endorsement to do as such. Most grounded people realize that opens up a perilously elusive incline. We can check previous Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee in that camp, and he as of late offered a straightforward question starter that places the entire issue in context. The Independent Journal Review goes along the scoop on that. In an interview with Fox News, Wednesday, the former Arkansas governor and GOP presidential candidate floated the idea of tearing down abortion clinics because they offended him. Anarchists go and just tear down the statues because they are impatient with the politicians doing it. It's not a good behavior, it has vandalism, it has anarchy, and it would be like telling me I do not like abortion clinics, so I am going to go to tear them down because I find them offensive. The issue has thus been identified for those that take dreams of justice into their own particular hands. On the off chance that we cross this line, where does it end? What else ends up plainly adequate? Considering those potential outcomes is a truly chilling knowledge. Huck said that the precedent of the mobs tearing down things that offend us is troubling. "We are bordering on anarchy," he said, having a select group of people tearing down something because they offended them personally. The former governor of a former Confederate state said he was okay with Confederate statues being replaced as long as the process goes through public and political debate, but has warned that the slope is a slippery one. Huckabee's take is spot on. General society and political debate portion is an urgent piece of the procedure. While it may not be impeccable, that is the way choices get made in our general public. Regardless of how honorable you feel your aims are, carrying on with a swarm mindset is likened to the turmoil that Huckabee insinuates. Is that truly what anybody needs to see our general public revert into? Well, except not, but rather it can head there entirely fast if such conduct is left unchecked. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. HTIJR. Deep State Obama crony betrayed president. She just issued horrible order at. One of the numerous issues President Trump faces is resistance from dug-in authorities inside different government offices who are faithful to Mr. Obama, and who are extremely eager to block President Trump's initiatives. While you would believe that representatives who decline to take after legitimate requests ought to have the capacity to be terminated, it isn't so much that basic. Barely any spots do this play out with more power than at the State Department, an organization committed to a radical motivation that likes to work as if it's autonomous of responsibility to the Secretary of State, not to mention the President. For instance, an authority named Jennifer L. Smith informed affiliated agencies that vagrants can enter the nation infringing upon any portions that may be set up. As it was, she declared that the law doesn't have any significant bearing. The New York Times has revealed that the State Department has just lifted the restrictions on the number of refugees allowed to enter the United States, in a move that seems to fly in the face of campaign Donald Trump's promise to voters. In an email sent just days ago, a State Department official named Jennifer L. Smith quietly told private agencies involved in refugee assistance that foreigners could now enter the country unconstrained by the weekly quotas that were in place. Or maybe conspicuous in her disobedience of the president, would she say she isn't? Why has she not just been let go for disobedience? We comprehend what the issue is. The Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration, the administrative department of the State Department that manages the flow of refugees to the United States, continues to be run by holdovers of the Obama administration, Breitbart News noted about the shocking quota decision. Obviously, the drain is just so vast, accordingly confining how rapidly President Trump can drain the swamp. At that point, we have the treacherous activities of State Department authorities as they utilize subterfuge in their endeavor to pull a quick one. The timing of the email also suggests that the State Department did not want Trump supporters to notice the change. Betraying the voters who elected Donald Trump, the Department of State slipped the news to the contractors on Thursday, who then slipped the news to the New York Times just as you were packing up for the beach or getting ready for a family barbecue, using the federal government's favorite holiday weekend trick to bury the news, explained Ann Corcoran on the Refugee Resettlement Watch blog. The rule at work here is exceptionally basic. The president needs and merits a group that will take after his lead. Moles or different fault-finders whose loyalties lie somewhere else need to leave or be rejected. Contradicting the president is a certain something, and it's their privilege. Disrupting him is something else out and out, and those taking part in such acts should be found. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. HT Conservative Tribune. $780 billion victory. House GOP just passes $780 billion bill. President Trump finally has the money he needs to. President Donald Trump is one bit nearer to following through on a promise he made to the Americans. All through his fruitful campaign, He said he'd stop the interminable flood of unlawful migration that has pushed a once proud nation to the brink of collapse. He swore he'd do all that he could to secure Americans and recover this country on its feet, and that incorporates things like a travel forbid that prevents terrorists from entering the nation. Maybe most dubious is the oft-debated southern border wall, which liberals love to loathe and ridicule, while in the meantime offering no arrangement at all for the illicit movement issue. Indeed, their answer is to overlook it or imagine there is no issue. Yes, ostrich disorder runs widespread among the misleading left. Be that as it may, now, the House of Representatives has given Trump and genuine patriots around the nation a colossal triumph. They've passed a $788 billion spending package, which incorporates funding for the military and, yes, a border wall amongst Mexico and the United States. Via Independent Journal Review, citing the Associated Press. The legislation passed on a 235-192 vote and is likely to face tough Democratic opposition in the Senate. In addition to the border wall financing, the spending package contained funding for military pay raise and an increase for veterans programs. Although the border wall reportedly received low public approval in the polls, the Republicans gave Trump the necessary funding. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, Republican California, suggested Trump got, or would eventually, get as much funding as he requested for the border wall. Every single dime the president asked to start building a wall on our southern border, he's going to get, McCarthy said. Obviously, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi scrutinized the bill since it skirted a $70 billion spending limit put on the military. Yes, Nancy, it breaks that utmost, yet in the event that we don't accomplish something now to shield ourselves from individuals of your kind, we will transform into parts of Europe which is going up on fire at the present time. That ought to be a lesson to us with respect to movement and relocation. However, once more, liberals would rather stick their hands in the sand and chant Kumbaya in light of the fact that they can't deal with reality. Obviously, they never could. Which is the reason we in this circumstance. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. HTIJR, Associated Press. FBI just issued major warning to Robert Mueller, you'll be surprised. As special counsel Robert Mueller's evidently free investigation keeps on frequenting the Trump Organization, the FBI has issued an astounding cautioning to Mueller himself to remain in line lest he confronts the outcomes. Bob Mueller understands and I understand the specific scope of the investigation, and so no, it's not a fishing expedition, said Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein yesterday. If there is evidence of a crime that is found within the scope of what they agreed, then Mueller has free rein, Rosenstein would explain. However, if it's outside the scope of the probe, then he needs to come to the acting Attorney General, at this time, for permission to expand his investigation, he said, according to the Washington Examiner. Rosenstein initially appointed Mueller to supervise the government Russia test, which started back in May when President Trump fired FBI Director James Comey. Albeit such an issue would fall under Attorney General Jeff Sessions' consideration, he recused himself from the case, in which Rosenstein, at last, was given the ability to contract and fire the uncommon advice. Reports surfaced asserting that Mueller extended his investigation to take a gander at Trump's funds, and in addition putting pressure on past representatives of the president, for example, his previous campaign manager Paul Manafort. Trump has vocally scrutinized these strategies in a New York Times interview where he expressed, "I think that's a violation. Look, this is about Russia." As indicated by a few sources, Mueller's investigators have been investigating the monetary records that have no connection to the 2016 race cycle, with one report noticing sources described an investigation that has widened to focus on possible financial crimes, some unconnected to the 2016 election, as per CNN. It doesn't take a lawyer to understand that Trump's funds fall totally outside of the domain of his election campaign and goes past the extent of Mueller's appointment, a move that is prevalent, Rosenstein has clarified. John Dowd, Trump's lawyer, commented that those transactions are, in my view, well beyond the mandate of the special counsel, are unrelated to the election of 2016 or any alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, and more importantly, are well beyond any statute of limitation imposed by the United States Code. Truth be told, this isn't the first run-through Mueller has violated his limits in his zeal to move his investigation. Mueller had called upon the Trump administration to hand over records in connection to resigned Lieutenant General Michael T. Flynn and in addition the Turkish government, as indicated by the New York Times. The liberal and dynamic components of our legislature would readily observe Mueller abuse each procedural confinement in the book on the off chance that he could weave up a story persuading enough to could sink the administration. Tragically for them, the statute of restrictions exists for a reason, and their fantasies won't effortlessly happen as intended. Robert Mueller's special counsel investigation has been enlarging in scope since its origin. Do you trust that Mueller is deliberately focusing on President Trump? Various stories have uncovered Mueller's strong Democrat bias, including delegating for the most part attorneys who have given to Democrat competitors before. A really free legal would see Mueller's investigation ceased. Ideally, a wonder such as this will happen later on. Until at that point, Trump must stay vigilant and not think little of the danger a one-sided investigation, for example, Mueller's could do to his administration, regardless of the possibility that his discoveries are false. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. H.T. Washington Examiner.